In the world of fast fashion, garments are made in an instant, designed, produced, and ready for the racks in a matter of time. But in a world obsessed with trends and a constant change in aesthetics, these clothes will soon be forgotten. Social media fueling the ever-changing styles of the world, these clothes are only worn just a handful of times before they are discarded. Big-name corporations locate their production facilities in developing countries to exploit workers, maximizing cheap labor and minimizing the time it takes to produce a single garment. Almost 92 million tons of garment waste are produced by these factories, resulting in an ethical and environmental issue. The perception that wearing an item only a handful of times is okay since its last season has resulted in an increase of discarded items, fueling overconsumption and overproduction of clothing items. Due to the nature of fast fashion apparel, it is often both cheaper and more time efficient to buy new clothing than to have existing clothes repaired. About 30% of all clothes around the world are never sold. Many retailers destroy, landfill, or incinerate the clothing that was never sold to make way for new merchandise. Getting rid of clothing that doesn't have a use anymore may not seem like a big issue, but it is important to understand how quickly a shirt here or a pair of pants there add up to an enormous scale. In America, the average consumer delivers 81.5 pounds of clothing to the landfill. In total, 1.2 billion tons of carbon emissions are released by the fashion industry every year. High demands for clothes not only influence the carbon footprint of the fashion industry, but also the amount of CO2 emissions during the manufacturing and transportation processes. Every garment has a hidden cost. Toxic dyes and synthetic fibers pollute our soil and water, harming ecosystems and communities. Water pollution from dyeing processes contribute to the industry's huge environmental footprint. Every year, the textile industry uses 1.3 trillion gallons of water to dye garments, enough to fill 2 million Olympic-sized swimming pools. The fashion industry is responsible for 20% of global water waste. Most of this water, loaded with harmful chemicals and dyes, flows untreated into rivers and streams. Approximately 80% of the dye-containing wastewaters produced are often released untreated into waterways and used directly for irrigation. In addition, dyes are also directly harmful to plants, animals, and humans, with human health implications including increasing allergy and cancer risk. But it doesn't have to be this way. With creativity and care, fashion can be reborn. Despite what advertisements or social media influencers might have you believe, you don't actually need to buy new clothes all the time. Opting out of buying new clothes is one of the most powerful ways you can reduce fashion waste. As an added bonus, not buying new clothes may encourage you to wear some items of clothing that are in your closet that you haven't worn recently. Thrift stores, vintage shops, flea markets, yard sales, and online secondhand marketplaces are other ways to find secondhand clothing. This is another way that people have refreshed their wardrobe without having to purchase new clothes. By buying clothes secondhand, the life cycle of a garment is extended, helping to further reduce their carbon footprint. Before you purchase from your favorite brands, take a minute to research their environmental impact or what they are actively doing to reduce their carbon footprint. If what you've found is negative or doesn't align with your values, try to find a more sustainable alternative or ask yourself, do I really need this? A large part of changing behavior involves changing our mindset and shopping behaviors when we do need something new. Ultimately, brands must reduce the number of collections they release. It's time for clothing companies to commit to ending the wasteful practice of overproducing clothing and then destroying overstock. And as consumers, we can use our power to call on these companies to change, while also reducing our own environmental impact. By buying less, we as consumers reduce and therefore reduce the excuses for brands to produce more clothes. Be the change, wear the change.